At some point. 11:11 on BBC Newcastle. Now, we talked about writing memoirs recently, and real life is more interesting than fiction is one phrase that came out of that discussion. Pete Rea is originally from Felling, and the blurb for your new book, One Life, One Shot, describes you as a man who's been from rags to riches not once, but twice. Pete went from cleaning drains to a life filled with speedboats, big houses and flash cars by the time he was 21. How old are you now?
49 going on.
E-pet. You were 21, you started your own business, then you lost it all, then you were made bankrupt, then you were on the verge of losing your council house until a loan of 150 quid from a mate turned your life around for a second time. So beginning at the beginning, you walked out of school at age...
Is it 16? I can't remember. Is that long ago?
What qualifications did you have?
Oh, that would be zero. That would be nothing at all. Not even a CSC, I'm afraid. No, nothing.
What did your parents say?
My mum was terribly disappointed. My dad always believed in me, and he always said, "Son, you've got greatness inside of you. You know, go for it, magic inside of you." But my mum didn't quite feel like that.
So what did Dad do?
Well, my dad always just said, he'll find his way in life, Nancy. He'll be all right. And she says, but how? How will he be all right? He ain't got any education. So that was the first little hurdle we had to overcome.
When are we talking sort of early 70s when you left school?
Yeah, sounds about right, I think.
Something like that. Okay. So you walked out of school, 16, nothing on. Teachers were like, oh, for goodness sake, probably. Parents were like, Dad was supportive. What did you end up doing?
Well, I was working for a company cleaning out drains, as you've already mentioned there. I was working in a butcher's as well, and cleaning out the fridges. And I was really very despondent. I thought, you know what, I do want loads out of life, but nobody would give me a chance. And I think that's the message. Nobody would give me a chance. But I've learned something, that it's not about your IQ, it's about your I will. So I decided that I was just going to keep stepping up my activity, looking for more work. And a friend of mine got me a job working as a carpet cleaner. Within a few months, I had fallen into all of the bad habits everyone else did. I was worn about being overworked and underpaid. My attitude was pretty dim. And I had a chance meeting with a multi-millionaire in Darras Hall. That completely changed my life.
Okay. When you were at school, did you work? Why did you come out with nothing?
I guess looking forward, stuff like doing geography and physics, I just didn't get up on it. And I couldn't see at the time how important it was. My head must have just been completely in the clouds, because obviously it's very important.
Okay. So cleaning carpets, that's my carpet cleaning.
Yeah, that's about the sound of it, yeah.
Thank you. And you were in Darras Hall one day, you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was sent to clean this guy's carpet. And there was big gates, like with a keypad on and things, and a telecom. So, I am here to clear your carpet. So, and I went, the gates opened, this beautiful big fountain, that sort of, drove around the edges of it, and then walked up to the doors, ding dong, at the door. A guy came in. I remember thinking, what on earth does somebody do to be able to afford a lifestyle like this? I was completely in awe. It was like something out of a magazine, It's incredible, absolutely incredible.
What did he do?
Well, he was a businessman. He didn't actually go into specifics, as I recall. He was a businessman. And when I asked him the question, what did he do? He turned around and said, if you want to be as successful as me, if you want to get more out of life, you've got to be prepared to do what others won't do. You have to go the extra yard. You have to create more value in the marketplace. You have to develop a winner's attitude.
Was he sort of pumped up and a bit arrogant, or was he just a nice bloke?
No, he was a really, really nice bloke, because at the age of 17, I didn't quite get what he was on about. So I had to ask him for a little bit more clarity. And he just said, you've got to work on being the best you can be, Peter. You've got to be the best you can be. Be the best employee for that company that you're working for. And I promise you, opportunities will come your way.
Is he still in your life?
No, not at all. Couldn't even tell his name.
So that was the catalyst for some change. When you left his house, looking at his riches and his loveliness and all that kind of thing, where was your head?
Well, I came out of there and I had made a decision instantly, and I thought, I'm going to put his advice to the test straight away. So when I actually got back in my yellow van and got back to the depot, I remember thinking, I am going to be the hardest working, happiest, most proficient, lowest paid carpet cleaner that you have ever employed in this company. And I set about on that task. I used to go to people's houses, okay, and when I would clean the carpet, obviously the attention to detail was now superb. And I used to say to people, if you're really happy with the quality of my cleaning, would you please do me a favour, because I'm looking to be promoted, and could you write a letter in and say how great I've done? And I even used to give them an envelope with a stamp on it. How's that for influence and the potential outcome?
Wow.
Yeah, forward thinking or what?
And when you were doing that, did you think, oh, I'm a smarmy, what's it?
No, not at all.
Just thought,
I was in the zone.
Yeah.
I just thought, hey, success leaves clues is what I've come to learn. And I thought, if he's got that and that's the advice he's given me, I'm going to follow that advice. And do you know what? Within a few months, I was called into the office. The guy sat me down, my boss, he's dead now, sadly, a guy called Frank Small. And he sat me down in the office. He said, Peter, I can't help but notice the spring in your step. You know, you've got a great attitude. You're always first into work. You're last away. You're always volunteering for overtime. And he said, there's a position has come available, and I wondered if you might be interested in it. And basically, it was to step into the management side. My wage doubled, and I was given a company car. I was only 17 years old. And I just thought, you know what? I walked out the office that day and I thought, this advice absolutely works.
Wow. Okay, so that worked for you. What would have happened if you had, hypothetically, mental health issues at that point and you were a bit down? Would you have been able to turn it around as much, if you see what I mean?
Well, I think obviously the way that you think about anything is really important. I think it starts with a thought. And I think if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you're probably right, because you become self-fulfilling. Because I think if you don't think you can do something, then you just don't even get in the game, you know. So I was thinking to myself, this sounds so simple, it's so logical. And because I had some desire inside, it was right for me at that time.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And when you were just cleaning carpets before we play Plan B, how much were you on? Do you remember?
£100 a week, something like that.
When you went into management, this next position, how much was that?
It was just over £200.
Okay.
About £200-ish.
All right. We're talking to Pete Rea, originally from Felling.
That's correct, yes.
Who's gone from rags to riches, quite literally, twice. His story continues next to BBC Newcastle. John Hart, the North East. I'm Jonathan Miles. We were talking about memoirs a while ago, and out of that came a discussion about the fact that, you know, real life is more interesting than fiction. And we thought, oh, and then we found Pete Rea, originally from Felling, who started off cleaning out butchers' fridges and ended up a millionaire and then losing it. Now, you have written a book, and it's for the normal man, is what it is. It's not full of this, yeah, hi, I'm great. Do you know what I mean? I mean, one of my friends at the moment, a fireman in Gateshead, as I've just told you, has said, oh, I'm motivated, lights fag, drinks tea. Pete Ahmed.
Fantastic.
Get on your blooming engine, mate. Do you know what I mean? Get on your engine. So, you got promoted to management, and then I guess there were other steps up. Paint a picture of me. What was life like around that time, and where, and kind of, if you can briefly tell me what height you went to at that point.
Okay, so I got promoted in the company within about 6 months. I then set up my own business in exactly the same line of work. By the time I went from 18 to 21, I was rich. I was living in the beautiful home, driving around the 911 Porsche, bought my mum and dad their very first house. And that all happened in a very short period of time, simply because of the advice that was shared with me. So it happened really, really quickly, Jonathan, okay? There wasn't time to think. It was a 36-month period, and my head was down, my tail was up, I was focused, I knew what I wanted, and I just went after it. And I followed that course really for many, many years, and unfortunately I lost it all when I was 35.
Okay, so you came out of school with absolutely nout, and then you built up and built up and built up in this business.
Yes.
The business was?
It was a carpet cleaning company, Fire and Flood Restoration, yeah.
Is it called what?
Fire and flood restoration.
Right, so you did that. And you became a millionaire out of doing that?
No, I wasn't a millionaire. Okay, I was on paper. If I'd sold everything, okay, and liquidated all the assets and paid off all the bills, I might have come close, okay? Right. But I wasn't a millionaire.
And this is and you built that money up through being management in a company?
No. In the company, I got the experience. Okay? Right. And then when I set up my own business, I then turned that experience into my own personal venture, expanded the business, and I was just on an absolute mission. And that's what took me from the rags to riches.
Okay. So did you carry on with carpet cleaning to make your money?
It was a service that I actually provided as part of an overall to insurance companies. There was other services that we provided as well. But for quite a while, I've kept on the tools until I built up my workforce. And it grew and grew and grew and got more and more successful. And I thought it was never going to end and everything was great. Okay. Made some bum decisions.
Okay, so you made some bum decisions, whatever those ones were. So from about 21, you were on a roll. Yeah, fine. You hit 35. How much did you have in the bank at that point or on paper? Were you worth $1 million then?
No, I wasn't worth $1 million then. I was close. If I'd sold everything, I would have, yeah. But I didn't have $1 million in the bank. I wish, but I didn't.
Okay, but you were successful.
Oh, very successful.
You bought your parents their first house.
Indeed.
Cash?
No.
Okay.
Mortgage.
What were you driving at the time?
911 Porsche.
Okay. Do you have a boat?
Speedboat, yes.
Oh, okay. Where were you living?
I was living in Hamstilly Mill in Derwenside.
All right. How did it all go wrong?
The market's changed more than anything else, and the way that our clients used to do business basically meant that unless I was a national company, that it was going to restrict the usage of my company. So unfortunately, because I was only a regional organisation, a lot of the buying decisions were taken away from the people who used to give me business. So overnight, I lost 40% of my business from one
government's
company.
fault.
I'm not getting involved in politics and religion. Don't go there. But yeah, so it was the start of the deck of cards starting to fall, and then it got to the point where the personal wealth went. And then I couldn't even afford the 12 quid or something it was to declare myself bankrupt. I had to borrow that.
12 quid, 750 now.
Is it really?
I
How times have changed.
I know. Okay, so you lost everything. And you were, what happened to you?
Well, for 2 years I was on a massive downer. I suffered heavily from depression. I was trying to get jobs in the real world, as it were. The jobs I was able to secure, because my confidence was a little bit low, was poorly paid. I then started slipping further into debt, and I got to the point where I was served a repossession order on the council house. I was buying my children's Christmas presents from car boot sales. I was being taken to court for £28 because I couldn't afford to pay my phone bill. It was a real desperate set of circumstances. And then I think I reached an emotional junction where I just thought, you know what, enough is enough. I can't go on like this.
What was that, John?
Has to change. I think it was a culmination of being frightened to pick up the telephone, this pile of brown letters that was now almost like touching the ceiling, and the feeling of sadness and fear every day within the house. It was overspilling into my family. And I just thought, do you know what? I've been successful before. I can do it again. So I was coming out of this dark period, and my attitude was starting to come around to, if you want more, you've got to do more. Okay. And that's what started.
Did you work during that period?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
I did.
Doing what?
I worked for a number of companies. I'll not mention the names, but it was basically in sales, because I was fairly good at communicating. But there just weren't very highly paid jobs. And after tax, what I was coming out with, I was thinking, how do you live on this? After previously, obviously, having had a lot of money.
All right. So what happened to turn that one round?
A friend of mine called Gary Watson, who was involved in this fantastic home shopping franchise called Clean Easy. It's worth mentioning that 99% of people have got no idea what Clean Easy offers as an opportunity.
I've never heard it.
Yeah, but it's a multi-million-pound home shopping franchise. And he said to me, why don't you have a look at this? There's a fortune to be made, and a lot of people are making a staggering income, or you could just make a few £100 a month if you just want to tool with it. And I said, let's have a look at it then. I was completely taken aback. I saw the plan and I thought, wow, this is amazing. So I was ready to get started. The attitude was improving. I wanted to get going with this, but it needed a £150 investment at the time. And I didn't have the money, so I borrowed the money. He showed me what I needed to do. I was massively inspired by seeing the success that he'd created. So I just got on with it. In the last 36 months, the business turned over about 9.7 million.
In the past 36 months?
Yeah, my business, Clean Easy Home Shopping business, mine personal franchise has turned over 9.7 million.
I love that, my personal franchise. How much do you turn over? 9.7 million. How much do you take as a salary? Oh, 9.7 million. I love that.
I wish.
Okay, we'll listen. This is fascinating. You've lost it twice, haven't you?
Well, the first time was, when I was a kid. But that was the rags to riches, and then obviously I lost that, and then obviously I've come back to sort of riches, I guess you could say. So that's where I'm at right now. But the thing that's really important is that there was a dark period during this present time of riches, and that was when I lost my dad, who was my hero. And when I was with him on his deathbed, I was holding his hand, and he said to me, "Son, you've got magic inside of you. You must reach out and help people to be able to help, to get more out of life, to fulfill their potential." So I promised my dad on his deathbed that I was going to write a book and that I was going to dedicate it to him, my hero, and let everyone have the information that I've had and experience I've gained over the years that I know can make a difference.
Okay. Talking to Pete Rea, who is an entrepreneur. He's from Felling. You may have heard coughing in the background. That's fine. That's Claire Glynn. We'll hear her story in the next half an hour too at BBC Newcastle Radio for the North East. An entrepreneur worth 9.7 million is currently sitting here saying, "I will get results." Okay, I couldn't just have the interest of one of your accounts, could I? Just to sort of siphon off into something. Would Pete Rea? Pete or P, as we call it, P.
One thing I just want to clarify, sometimes people get mixed up between a 9.7 million turnover and 9.7 million profit. So can we just be clear on that, Jonathan?
What car do you drive?
I have an M-Class Mercedes.
Darling! See? I think... Do you pay cash for it?
Do you know what sort of show is this, man? What sort of show is this?
Did you pay cash for it?
I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, I love rich people.
No.
I like the way I live when I'm with them. It's a line from The Sound of Music. I love... You know that thing when they're on the balcony and the river's in the background and Max goes, "I love rich people. I love the way I live when I'm with them." That's so me. Love rich people. Fab, we'll hear some more of your story and about the book again in a minute. Pete Rea is from Felling, and then he made it, and then he lost it, and now he's got it again, and he's helping other people, I think, as well, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. The book. I mean, we can go through our whole life, just wishing things could be different. But you know what? It's like a fingers crossed strategy, but like hope is not a strategy. So I think we seem to reach certain points in our lives when we just sort of self-resignate and we just settle and we just think, this is the way that it is. It doesn't have to be that way. And my book, One Life, One Shot, which is all about inspiration and information to help people to get more out of life, more success, more money, more happiness.
I think it's more realistic from somebody like you because you have suffered at times with depression and the mental health kind of stuff that goes along with that. If you were just one of these people going, "I'm fabulous, you can be fabulous too," Pete, and we went through this a lot. When I first came here 5 years ago, we were talking to life coach after life coach after life coach. And I used to say to these people, "And what would happen if your husband left you? Would you?" "No, I would use the techniques. My life would be fine." And I'm just like, yeah, of course you would. Do you know what I mean?
I completely get that. I understand exactly what you're saying. Do you know what? I think people are just sick of being told, "Come on, let's just be more positive." What people want to really know is how can I be more positive? And my book is a culmination of a journey that I've been on over many, many years, the challenges I've been on. So it's very much real life. It's real strategies. And anyone who reads it is going to get massive, massive value from it because I'm not talking at people, I'm talking with people.
Well, interestingly enough, I was talking to a bunch of self-employed people in Brighton on Saturday night. I think a lot more people are sort of going that way and they're trying because of the economy, the way it is. Everyone's got a something in them. It's just finding it. We're gonna talk to Claire Glynn, but this is a question which I suppose you always ask in interviews, but where would you be if you hadn't met the man in Darras Hall? Would it just have happened differently?
I could have quite easily just trundled along and got caught up in life and perhaps not thought that opportunity was out there and never realised that I could take control of my life. So yeah. Can I want just some more things on it? And so anyone does want to get a copy of my book, they can get it from Amazon or they can go onto my website, which is onelifeoneshot.co.uk.
What a nice man you are. No, but you're just positive and nice and normal, and I think that's what people buy into.
Checks in the post.
No, but I'm serious. If you are normal and down to earth and you just talk about stuff, people will engage it engage with.
I've made some mistakes, mate, I tell you, but I've learned from them and I've intelligently moved forward.
Right, that's Pete Rea. We'll come back to Pete in a minute. Just sit back there. Now let's talk. I must apologise for eating. It's just that. And I had caramel shortbread, and that was revolting as well because it was all soggy. I was so disappointed. 6 minutes to 12 on BBC Newcastle. We're talking about making it. We're talking about real life being better than fiction. Pete Rea. Rags to Riches twice. He's written a book inspired by his dad. The book's called One Life, One Shot. Money, Success and Happiness. What would you say, both of you? Claire Glynn, she runs Fourth Aspect with her husband, and they provide interweb stuff. Do you know what I mean? And Pete runs this company. What do you sell on it?
It's a clean, easy home shopping franchise. Thousands of products for use in and around the home, health and beauty, spa product ranges, Helen Cosmetics.
Right, okay, all that
range.
Stuff. Okay. Somebody is sitting in a deprived area, let's call it a deprived area, in the northeast, wherever that happens to be. They're on benefits. They don't think they will ever make any money. They would love to have a couple of million in the bank. They see someone like you on the television. They listen to this interview. They're like, oh, God, it'll never be me. What do you say to people like that? Because those people think that people like you are out of their reach.
I'm just a normal, bog-standard person.
Where are you from? I'm
from Chesley Street.
And you're a normal, bog-standard person with a bit of luck. How do they tap into some luck, Pete?
Without sounding like this is just about me and promoting my book, you should get hold of my book. You can even go on and get the free chapter. It's a completely free download from my website. One of the things I think is really, really important is people to strengthen their belief. They tend to think that they're not capable. We're capable of so much more than any of us ever go on to achieve. But the problem is we just don't think that we are. And because we don't think that we are, then we don't get in the game.
And I suppose that if you are kept down, you can never see light at the end of the tunnel.
I think it's all to do with attitude. When you've said this person is sat thinking, oh, that can never be me, that can never be me. It can be. I'm a normal person with my feet on the ground. I just had an idea and looked at how that could happen and made it happen through other people, and obviously I couldn't do it all myself.
Where would you be now without the idea?
Probably still running the web company that we had initially, doing the doing.
See, I actually believe that you would have found another idea.
Probably, yeah.
Because you're in the zone, you want to be successful, you're thinking, how can I get ahead? What can I do to bring more value? And you know, and I think when you start putting yourself out there, when you start looking and associating with the right people, making the right sort of communications, all of a sudden you start operating at a completely different level. Attitude determines your altitude, and Claire said it.
Totally.
It really is attitude.
So if you took somebody from a deprived area, you know, they've been dabbling with a bit of grass and this, that and the other, and they were on benefits, and they met you and you gave them a chance, that could turn somebody's life around, hypothetically. Do you know what I mean?
You know what the first question I would say?
That would be nice if you ever inspired anybody to make a change. I think that would be a wonderful thing, wouldn't it?
I think we can inspire people, you know, because I think people sometimes don't believe in themselves. And that's one of the first questions I would say to someone is, first and foremostly, what is it that you actually want out of life? Because you can never go about achieving something if you don't initially know what it is that you want. So what do you want?
Do you know Anne Michael Grieve?
Yes, I do.
Ah, well done, Peter. You've inspired us for 4 years. You get in life what you put in, and you have proved that.
Ah, she's a great girl, Anne Michael. Love them to bits. Part of our business, actually doing fantastically well, and thank you very much for those comments, Anne. I really appreciate them.
Listen, it's very kind of you to come in. I hope that somebody has heard this and they're currently looking out for their catalyst moment. What is the best bit of advice that both of you think you will want to pass on to somebody for business in life? Somebody maybe that's at a low point, somebody that's stuck, somebody that's unmotivated at the moment. Claire?
Think positively. Just go for it. Whatever you want to do, it's possible. You can do it and go for it.
Without saying read my book, what?
I think at the end of the day, I think if others can do it, then so can you.
BBC Newcastle, North East weather.
Jonathan, this afternoon.